Today I wanted to cover some bugs or quirks or whatever when working with Monk's active tiles, but also just Foundry in general for some of them, but that affect you working with Monk's active tiles. So for example, your movement speed when you drag a token. There are modules like token warp, for example, though there are a few others that allow you to modify that value so the token will move faster or slower when you drag it. Don't do that. You can use those modules, but don't use that particular feature in those modules if you're going to be using the move action with Monk's active tiles, because the move action for Monk's active tiles has an override for movement speed, but those other overrides from the modules prevent that override from working. So what ends up happening is the token's movement is locked into whatever that other module set it to. And so you can't control the animation speed of the movement of tokens from Monk's active tiles. And this creates an additional problem where when your tile arrives at another tile and triggers it, if your movement speed is overridden by something other than Monk's active tiles, then the triggering event of the tile being moved by Monk's active tiles, landing on that new tile, it will trigger before or after the token arrives, depending on what the speed of the token is set to in the other module. And so the timings of your animations and the triggering events and things like that can get completely messed up. So if you have modules that allow you to modify or override the default movement speed of tokens, don't use that feature. Turn that feature off. If you want to be able to use the move speed controls in Monk's active tiles, or you want tokens entering or leaving tiles when they trigger to line up with the actual token entering or leaving the tile. Again, because if Monk's active tiles isn't getting the speed that it's expecting, then the tiles will trigger like before the token arrives or after the token's already gone through or whatever, and it can create all kind of messed up effects. So that's something to avoid. Another one that is a Foundry issue, but affects when working with Monk's active tiles, is if you have the properties open on two different tiles at the same time. So we have this one open and we have this one open, and we make a change in one of them. Doesn't matter which one, doesn't matter what order they were opened in. You make a change in one of them and you hit update tile. Once you've done that, the remaining window is useless. Any changes you make when you hit update tile will not happen. You have to close the window, open it back up again, and then you can make changes. Once one window has been updated, any other windows you have open cannot be updated. They have to be closed and they have to be reopened. So that's something to keep track of when you're working on multiple tiles. You get multiples open, especially if the tiles are similar to each other. You're comparing notes between them, or I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but you can drag between tiles to copy instructions between tiles, which is something that I frequently use. So this is fine. You can have the two windows open, and I can hit update tile on this one. And when I open this one back up, it has the thing. So having the two tiles open, dragging between them, everything else is perfectly fine. But once I've updated one of the tiles, all the other windows are read-only. I mean, you can make changes, but those changes won't get saved when you hit the update tile button. And that you can end up losing a lot of work and getting very confused. So just something aware of. Once you've hit that update tile, close every other window you have open and open them back up again if you plan on making any changes to them. All right, now, what did I insert there? I inserted that one. Let's get that out of there. Muck up my demonstration. Okay, so the next one we want to deal with is the attack action. The attack act, there are two different ways of dealing damage to tokens with Monk's active tiles. One is the heal harm, and that one is very straightforward, works in all circumstances. The problem with heal harm is it ignores damage type. So if you want to automatically have the tile do the damage to the token, and you want the token's natural resistances and vulnerabilities and immunities to be taken into account, heal harm isn't going to work. Now, Monk's active tile has a function for that, the attack action. The problem is the attack action is not compatible currently with, what's the name of the module? Meaty QOL, Meaty QOL, or Meaty Quality of Life, which is an automation module that is very popular. So what ends up happening is I have Meaty QOL installed. If I have this token step onto this trap, right, it rolls the dice, it shows the damage card, but no damage is done to the token. That's as far as it'll go. So if you want the damage to be applied, you have heal harm. If you have Meaty installed and you want damage to be applied and you want it to take into account damage resistances and things like that, you're kind of out of luck. So I went and I asked for some help in some Discords, and someone in the Esky Discord suggested a macro. And I took a look at his macro and I made some changes to it. I think that made improvements upon it. So it's not my original idea, but I did make some tweaks and changes. So what that allows you to do with that macro, we step on this tile, it will allow you to do the attack and it actually deals the damage to the token. I've included the macro in my module, which is linked down in the description. The macro, I'll bring it up here. Traps and puzzles, macros. By the way, that folder is something that I created for organization purposes. It'll just be a macros folder in your compendiums. And when you look, because you could have more than one macros folder, I have more than one macros folder, specifically the one for traps and puzzles. I recommend doing what I did here, create a folder for traps and puzzles and put the 3 sections of traps and puzzles in here. It just makes it easier to organize them. But anyway, you can see there's a bunch of modules, macros included in my module. There we go. And they're very useful. And basically what they all rotate around is working with tags, which makes them very, very easy to work with, because you just assign tags from your tile and then you call the macro and you say, do whatever to this tag. And so they integrate very, very well with Monk's active tiles, and that's what they're designed for. So in this specific circumstance, we have the Meaty QOL attack tagged. So we open this up, and in the comments at the top here, it explains how it works. The first thing you put in is the tag that is on the target you want to damage, and you can have that tag on multiple tokens if you want to do damage to all of them at the same time. And then the name of the actor that is your damage dealing actor. This is the same thing you would do if you're setting up, for example, over here, I have this test actor, right? And in this test actor, I have test item. And in test item, I have the activity, test activity, right? And that is what is dealing the damage. So you would do the same thing for setting up this as you would for just setting up the normal attack action for Monk's active tiles. This is just a workaround so that it will work if you have Meaty QOL installed. So you have the name of the damage dealing actor. In this case, it is test actor. And you have the name of the item, test item in this case, and then optionally the activity name. If there is only one activity, or if the activity you want is the very first one, you can leave that name out. It will just automatically go with the very first activity that it finds. So if we look at the tiles, the original tile, is not that one. This is the original tile. So the original tile, you just have the attack action, right? So we're doing the attack. We're doing it on the triggering token. We're using the test actor, test item, use the test item, show chat card, public role, yada, yada, yada. This is how you would normally set it up. And as you saw, if you have Meaty QOL installed, you just get the damage roll is done, but you have to manually apply the damage, which you may be perfectly fine with. But if you want it to automatically apply the damage and still take like damage resistances and things like that into account, then what we do is we add a tag to your targets. So in this case, I'm adding the tag victim to the triggering token. Then we call the macro, And then after the macro is completed, we just remove that tag. Okay. And for calling it, we select the macro. And the way you do that is you bring up your macro list. Oop, I closed the window. You bring up the macro list, and then you hit this targeting icon, and then you select the macro that you want. In this case, it's this one. You run as GM, and then you put in your args, which are the settings that you want the macro to run on. So the name of the tag, which is victim, the name of the actor that is dealing the damage, the name of the item on that actor that is dealing the damage, and optionally the name of the activity if it has more than one. And you don't want to just use the first one. And that's it. And so it allows it to function as the normal attack would function, even if you have Needy QOL installed. So again, that's included with my module, which is linked down in the description. So you don't need to know anything about writing macros. You can just use that macro and it will take care of that problem. Now, doors, let me get rid of this. Doors can act a little funny sometimes, the monk active tiles. And I don't know if the problem is with monks or if the problem is with Foundry or whatever, but some things to be aware of and some potential workarounds for those problems. So we have this door here, and I have it set to trigger on the events that come from the door. So let's clear this out. So when the door opens, triggers door open. When the door closes, it triggers door closed. Now, when I lock the door, it says door check lock. It doesn't say door lock, right? It's doing the wrong trigger. So there's problem number one. So what you need to do, if you want to deal with both door lock and door check lock on a door, if you have both of them, what you need to do is put door lock before door check lock. For whatever reason, it will look for both. It'll trigger the first one it finds. And if door check lock comes first, that's the one that's going to get triggered. So put the door lock first, and then that problem gets taken care of. So now it properly triggers door lock. Now, unfortunately, door check lock is still a little bit funky. And so if I unlock the door and I open the door and I close the door and I lock the door, it does door check lock. Now, if I lock it and unlock it again, it goes back to working normally. But for whatever reason, after a door opens and then closes, when you lock it, it does door check lock again, even though door check lock came second. For some reason, it just ignores door lock in that circumstance and does door check lock. That is a bug, and I don't know of any workaround for it, unfortunately. Nope. So door check lock is a little on the flaky, unreliable side. My recommendation is just don't use it. I find generally players don't click on doors to check to see whether or not they're locked. They'll just ask the DM, I inspect the door. Is it locked or not locked? Because they don't want to accidentally open the door if the door is not locked and, trigger whatever is going on inside. So I find it's not a big deal. I just don't use door check lock. So just something to be aware of. Another quirk with door check lock is it doesn't come up if we create a new landing. Scroll down. New landing. And I type in door. Door check lock is not one of the selected items. One of the suggested items. It just, now if I even go door check, it doesn't come up. So that's another quirk with that, is it won't autofill that particular landing for you for whatever reason. Okay, now another quirky bug when it comes to working with doors. I don't know if it's really a bug or it's just that's the way doors are handled and it can cause some confusion for you, is if a door is a secret door. So let's change our door here. Change from door to secret door. And then I open the door, it triggers door open. When I close the door, it doesn't trigger door closed, it triggers door secret. Also, when I lock the door, Again, door check lock. After a door is open then and closed, it gets triggered just that one time. No idea why. But now, door lock, door secret, door lock, door secret. So locking or closing a secret door doesn't trigger door lock or door close. It triggers door secret. So just something you need to be aware of. I did come up with a workaround for door close. If you do want to have separate triggers for door secret and door close, there is a way of doing it. So let me show you here. So what I did, by the way, this is a handy thing because you can't just right click on an instruction and disable it for like debugging or purposes or whatnot. Just create a landing called, whatever you want. I call it not active, and make sure it's a stop landing so code won't go down into it. And then you just grab and drag lines that you want to temporarily disable, just drag them down in here, and then they'll just be completely ignored rather than having to delete them or recreate them. Okay, so we have when the door opens, let's change the door from a secret door into a normal door so that when the door closes, it's not a secret door. And then after the door closes, we'll change it into a secret door. So the only change visually would be normally the door instantaneously would become a secret door as soon as you select to close it, and that would be it. In this case, there'd be a minuscule millisecond delay between the door closing and the door becoming secret and invisible again. So that's all we're doing here. But because we're doing this, at the time the door closes, it's not a secret door. It's a normal door. So you will get the door close instruction. Now, at this moment, normally what I would do is demonstrate that to you. But if I did that, I would completely screw up everything. And it turns out when you're using an animated door, which I am in this case, there is a timing issue that can really, really seriously mess up your game. And I'm not going to demonstrate it because once you do the damage, it's a real pain to undo it because you have to delete all the doors and walls in your entire scene and recreate them all from scratch to fix the issue. So we're not going to go through that, but I will show you what the solution is. Basically what happens, the timing gets messed up because there's a delay in the opening and closing of the door waiting for the animation to happen. And so if you change the status of the door while that delay is happening, while that animation is happening, it will create a copy of the door on top of the door. And then if you open or close it again, it'll create another copy and another copy and another copy. And it becomes a huge mess real fast. So the solution is inserting a delay before you make any changes to the door. All right. So you wait half a second, allowing the door to finish its animation and update its status and everything is good. And then you can change the door and you won't have any issues. So now we go back here. The door is still secret. So let's unlock it. We'll open the door. It says door open. We close the door. It says door close, not door secret. So these are just some weird, quirky things that I've run into. Nothing really, game breaking or anything. But they can be frustrating when you run into them. And these are the workarounds that I found. Hopefully you guys will find this helpful. Again, for the macro, it's in my module, which the link is down in the description, along with links to my Discord channel and my coffee link if you're interested in helping out. Feel free to join the Discord, hop in, ask some questions. Also, if you have any ideas for traps, for puzzles, requests for tutorials or help or whatnot, then hit me up. Let me know. All right. Hopefully you guys found this helpful. Have a good one.